Sorry, it's no sound. I'm so sorry. So yeah, I was just saying that the practice of the medicine Buddha, you see, the 7 medicine Buddhas, this totally purifies all imaginable different kinds of suffering and causes of suffering. That's the point. And they're all enshrined in the main medicine Buddha. Dark blue, lapis lazuli, healing Buddha, the Hishaji Guru, whom we describe. Left hand holding a begging bowl full of nectar that destroys the delusions and the power of uncontrolled death and so forth, part of Mara. And the right hand holding the stem, a very rare medicinal plant, the so-called Arura plant. Is very rare and wonderful medicinal plant. That's in the right hand between thumb and forefinger, holding that. And of course, medicine Buddha in the nature of light, blissful light. And as we are going to recite the mantra out loud 21 times, and then we'll recite it silently to ourselves. Yeah, silently. All the while imagining much light and nectar, purifying Pushpa Aurora as well as all the other people. I hope you got that. And doesn't matter if the connection goes, you just keep on reciting, keep on praying if it goes before we finish the 21 rounds. And then we do quite a few mantras under our breath. So this is our practice of compassion before we look at the some practice connected with chapter 8 of Shantideva. Okay, so bring to mind very carefully the people you wish to pray for. Ranjat same gate soha. Taeta om bekanze bekanze. Maha bekanze bekanze. Ranjat same gate soha. Taeta om bekanze bekanze. Maha bekanze bekanze. Ranjat same gate soha. Taeta om bekanze bekanze. Maha bekanze bekanze. Ranjat same gate soha. Taeta om bekanze bekanze. Bekanze bekanze, maha bekanze bekanze, ranjat same gate soha. Taita Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Bekanze Randa Sami Gate Soha Taita Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Bekanze Randa Sami Gate Soha Taita Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Bekanze Randa Sami Gate Soha Taita Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Bekanze Randa Sami Gate Soha Taita Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Bekanze Randa Sami Gate Soha Taita Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Bekanze Randa Sami Gate Soha Taita Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Bekanze Randa Sami Gate Soha Taita Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Bekanze Randa Sami Gate Soha Taita Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Bekanze Randa Sami Gate Soha Taita Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Bekanze Randa Sami Gate Soha Taita Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Bekanze Randa Sami Gate Soha Taita Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Bekanze Randa Sami Gate Soha Taita Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Bekanze Randa Sami Gate Soha Taita Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Bekanze Randa Sami Gate Soha Taita Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Bekanze Randa Sami Gate Soha Taita Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Bekanze Randa Sami Gate Soha Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Bekanze Randa Sami Gate Soha Taita Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Bekanze Randa Sami Gate Soha Randa Sami Gate Soha Taita Om Bekande, Maha Bekande. Randa Samvi Gate Soha. Visualize now that medicine Buddha dissolves into light, and that light dissolves into Pushpa Aurora and all the other beings we are praying for or remembering. Blissful, dark blue light, the nature of light and nectar, dissolving, healing all that is to be healed at the deepest level. Healing for the long term, creating very auspicious causes, long-term causes for happiness, liberation, enlightenment. Nobody, whether Buddha or medicine Buddha, any Buddha can prevent death, but they can help purify the causes of suffering. And ultimately the causes of ordinary death, painful death, uncontrolled death. Dedicate that the short practice of medicine Buddha be beneficial for everybody we have been praying for, and also beneficial for ourselves in engaging in the wholesome action of recitation to alleviate suffering. And then the rest of the meditations we do today, they also, of course, as usual, they will be dedicated for happiness and welfare of all beings, and for excuse me, and for Pushpa Devi. Okay, so now chapter 8 of so I hope that this alleviates Nivitaji, I hope this alleviates your grandmother's condition, but if not, I'm sure there will have been some benefit at some level. Okay, so if we come actually to the beginning of chapter 8, this is where it is also very beneficial to begin to look at what Shantideva is saying again, and to reflect on it more deeply than we have done. Because what we've done is we've been looking at it in a commentarial fashion, but we haven't actually stopped, have we, and really reflected and meditated on it. That's what we can do now. Okay, so even the very first verse, Shantideva says of this chapter, one should stabilize the mind in meditative concentration. Having already in the previous chapter looked at enthusiasm, zeal, now we need to focus the mind, concentrate the mind, because if we don't do that, then the mind is, as he puts it, poised between, dangerously poised between the fangs of disturbing emotions, the klesh, ready to jump on us when we're not aware, yeah, and actually control us, keep us in their control. So with bodily and mental seclusion, he says, distraction doesn't arise. And therefore, upon renouncing the world, one should renounce discursive thinking, discursive thoughts. I'm using the Wallace translation, which is different from what you have, but I find the Wallace also very good. So I will always give you the verse number so you can follow what will be a slightly different translation. So, because of attachment and craving, one does not renounce the world, right? Therefore, giving them up, the wise should contemplate in this fashion. Okay, so now, what is attachment? What is craving? We constantly need to remind ourselves of this because, sometimes I ask people to recite the definition, which often we find a little difficult. But of course, the definition is one thing, but what does it actually mean? What does it refer to? So first, let's recall the definition and let's apply it in our lives and see what is happening in our lives and whether it applies to our life and what the consequences are of this so-called attachment and craving. So attachment is a mistaken mind, mistaken state of mind, a mistaken consciousness that exaggerates. Okay, this is an essential part of the definition. It exaggerates the likable, attractive qualities of an object, person, situation, whatever, and then wants to obtain it, wants to have it, wants to enjoy it, whatever it is, wants to possess it, with the understanding, with the wrong understanding, perhaps we might say, that this is going to bring happiness, that it will bring, fulfillment, satisfaction, etc. Okay, and craving, you could say, is a stronger form of attachment. It's connected with attachment, obviously. It's one really craving. Now one really wanting, you've seen the beautiful motorcycle or dress or camera, whatever, in the window of the shop, and you've been having flickering thoughts about it on and off, day after day, and even maybe before you go to sleep. And then now it's becoming such that you just feel you cannot stop yourself from going into the door of the shop. You've been looking at it, you've been kind of lusting after it in the shop window, but now you're actually making a move to go into the shop to investigate, ask how much it costs and and all of that, And you can apply a similar scenario with a human being, not that you go into a shop to buy people nowadays, thank goodness, but you know what I mean. So that is craving, and then grasping. That's of course a further state. The grasping is when you're kind of really, you're getting hold of the thing. You're getting hold of it. So there's that analogy in the teaching, the monkey. How do you catch a monkey? Well, you don't have to be too clever, apparently. You put a banana or something inside a cage, and the monkey will look at it from a long way off and develop attachment, really exaggerating the great qualities of bananas and wanting to have one, And then it goes towards the cage. It's not enough just to fantasize about this banana or look at it from afar. The monkey starts going towards the cage, leaping from branch to branch, going towards that cage, right? Then it puts its hand in the cage and grabs the banana. Stupid monkey, because these clever hunters, they've sort of sprung it so that as soon as the monkey puts the hand in the cage, the spring, closes the door, or it's such that if the monkey holds on to that banana, keeps its fist tight, then it won't be able to take its hand out of the cage. It'll have to let go of the banana to get his hand out of the cage. But of course, the monkey is totally obsessed right now with this banana and doesn't want to let go. Okay, so this is grasping, grasping, as Lama Yeshe used to say, grasping. So we have attachment, we have craving, we have grasping. This is what is preventing us from meditating. It's preventing us from having a contented kind of life of equilibrium, all of these things. Of course, our life is also being disturbed by anger and envy and so forth. But in one way, even those can be linked to attachment, because it's kind of like when we don't get what we want, so attachment, when we don't get what we want, we get angry. When our desires, our wishes, our plans are thwarted, we get angry. Very often, it's like that. So anyway, so early on meaning verse 3 of this chapter, which has so many verses, what was it, 190 something like that, 186 verses or so. The very third verse, Shantideva is talking about attachment, because this is the main obstacle. So he says, on account of attachment and craving for gain and the like. Okay, so now enough talk. Spend some time contemplating, what are you attached to in your life? What are we attached to in our life? It may not be gain in that sense, or gain or money, but we want to gain something probably. So what would we like to gain? What do we spend a lot of time thinking about and feeling, how can I gain this? How can I get this, that, or the other? How can I get it? And the craving that comes, what steps may I have taken already to try and get this? Or maybe I have good recent examples of craving and grasping, actually grabbing hold of what I want, what I crave, what I'm attached to. And then what happened then, what was the result of that? So take a look at this, reflect on this. The mind gets distracted, as it will, thinking, well, this is irrelevant, or, I'd rather think of something else. Notice that this is happening. Let it go, and, you can scold yourself saying, well, look, what are you doing on this session? Are you here to just, follow your own thoughts as you wish, or are you going to reflect on Shantideva's verses, which is what this is about, Get it together in your mind, get back to the topic. You can talk to yourself in an eccentric way, but bring your mind back to the object of analysis, which is our attachment to a particular object, person, situation, or whatever. So please think about this and think of it in a good perspective, so you can see what the kind of consequences it's having. Consequences, looking at that, reflecting on that, without this, over judgmental mind. We're not here to, ascribe, a punishment. We're not a judge in that sense. We're not here to punish. But we're here to investigate and look, see what is happening in our minds, in our life. Okay, let's do this now. see the kind of persistent nagging quality of attachment, craving. Keeps on coming up, keeps on disturbing the mind. You're trying to focus on something, it comes up, disturbs, drags one in another direction. It can be like a kind of a low-grade fever. And in terms of this text, an important factor to consider would be that if we have a lot of attachment to one particular person, let's say, or a few people, or to something in a selfish way, you know, that I want this, I want, then obviously that's going to interfere drastically with the generation of the altruistic mind, the compassionate mind that cherishes others. Yeah, we're so busy thinking of what I want to possess, you know, that doesn't leave much space in the mind for any kind of genuine thoughts about others, what they need, how to help others, how to benefit others. You know, we forget that. Or when we remember it, it's not that powerful. It's colored by attachment. Of course, we may be attached to our own reputation. That is also, of course, something. So we engage in whatever we engage in, but with that selfish motivation of wanting to receive praise, you know, good reputation. So it's all connected with, you know, the 8 worldly feelings, the 8 worldly dharmas that we discussed many times. So that all the 8 worldly dharmas interferences to not only the bodhisattva path, of course, but they're just basic interferences to even renunciation. We can't even develop any kind of renunciation of samsara. We're so busy involved with them, we don't see how samsara is like a burning house, you know. It's supposed to be like a burning house. So much suffering. You know, the people, I suppose, who develop this very intense renunciation, I mean, think of it, you remember the images of people jumping out of the Twin Towers? It was so hot in those towers, they were willing to jump out, you know, 40, 50, whatever stories above the ground. It was so intensely hot in there, unbearable. So I guess the person who really understands samsara and the nature of attachment and so forth and grasping, they just want to get out, you know? They want to jump out of samsara, they want to escape. And if they have compassion, then they also realize we have to escape, because if I'm caught up in the burning, I can't help other people out of the burning. I'm myself stuck in it, caught up in it. Anyway, so attachment we have to look at very skillfully and see that our unskillful relationship with attachment is causing a lot of suffering. Yes, the Dharma does speak of a more skillful relationship with it, a skillful way to work with it, but that's not what we ordinary people do. We just get stuck in it. You know? Leads to more and more craving. But again, we check for yourself. We need to check for ourselves whether this is true or not. Okay. So of course, we may be screaming inside and saying, well, does this mean we can't get, we can't have relationships with people, can't get married, can't blah, blah, blah. No, it doesn't mean that, but it means that, of course, also remember Shantideva here. He was giving this speech to monastics, to monks, with very strict vows, one of which is celibacy, right? So, of course, that's different. But for us, lay people, we have to be very careful as well, because unbridled, unthinking attachment just leads to more and more suffering, more and more stickiness, you could say, getting stuck. So then the spaciousness and the freedom is completely gone. We become slaves to attachment, to grasping, craving. So this is one of the challenges of the spiritual life, so-called spiritual life, for lay people like us. We have to balance the desire with skillful means and with love and compassion, wisdom. Recognizing that attachment, if it's pure attachment, if it's attachment, then it's exaggeration, so it's not actually in touch with reality. So if something isn't in touch with reality and we believe it, then we can be in trouble, yeah? Because at some point the truth will emerge, and that could be painful for us, will be painful for us. But these first few verses of chapter 8, very powerful, very good. So, realizing the one who is well endowed with insight through calm abiding eradicates mental afflictions, one should first seek quiescence. One should first seek calm abiding, with calm, tranquil, stabilized mind. This is what we should seek. And if we have that kind of calm abiding due to detachment towards the world, well, he's saying that calm abiding comes about due to detachment from the world and due to joy. A joy that comes through the practice. Right now we find joy through external objects. External objects, people, all kinds of accoutrements, clothes and this and that and the other, men and women both. You have to look at magazines and what people are up to. So that's what we do to attain some kind of happiness and to fulfill our image of ourselves. Of course, I do want to say something. Lama Yeshe, my first teacher, he did say actually, especially for women, he said, you should look good. He did say that. Don't look a mess. You should look good. You should make yourself look very good. Make yourself look attractive. I don't think he was speaking of some kind of male chauvinist Tibetan Himalayan yogi, who has no idea about the modern world and gender equality and so forth. I don't think that's the case. He wanted men and women to feel good about themselves. And he was an amazing being whoever came in touch with him, he made, at least for a while, made that person feel good about themselves. He was so infectiously kind and wonderful in so many ways, loving and kind of cuddly almost, like a very enlightened, loving teddy bear, something like that. Lama was like that. And he loved people, adults, children, everybody. He loved and they loved him. So anyway, why am I saying this? Yeah, because he told women, you should look good. Of course, he also told monks you should look good. You shouldn't wear tatty robes. You should look smart. You should look good for people. Unless you're some kind of ascetic yogi in the mountains, then who cares? But if you're in society, you should look good. Look good for people. That's your kind of. I think he was kind of saying you need to look good for other people, not so much for yourself, but you need to look good, make other people feel happy by looking at you, that kind of thing. Lama was, yeah, he was very practical and very encouraging for people. However, if that leads to great attachment to, our 100 pairs of shoes and ties and whatever, lipsticks, earrings, etc., then we're in trouble, I think. But then I'm biased. I'm a man who doesn't wear earrings, but some people will see it another way. Tibetan men wear earrings traditionally. Tibetans are really into earrings. Yeah. I've always felt it a bit strange. Anyway, all right. So then, verse 5. This is a bit of a kick, like someone. You play certain sports, you would play rugby, and then someone would tackle you, you get hit in the stomach, you'd be winded, you couldn't catch it, you wouldn't be able to breathe for a while. So this verse 5 is a bit like that. It's kind of Shantideva's giving us a kick, a butt in the stomach. He says, for what impermanent person who will not see his loved ones again in thousands of births, is it appropriate to be attached to impermanent beings? So, for whom is it appropriate? Is it appropriate for us to be attached, to impermanent beings? We won't be seeing those beings. Once we die, we won't see those beings perhaps for hundreds, thousands of births, these loved ones. And actually, when we see them, we won't recognize them. That's a real drag, right? Oh, there you are, I recognize you. Of course, sometimes we think we found our soulmate and this and that, but it's not like saying, okay, now finally here we are together again. Although sometimes it can feel like that, that's for sure. Sometimes you feel very attracted or attached in some mysterious way to a person that maybe after many hundreds of thousands of lives we're seeing that person. But in other lives we may be seeing them as somebody we kill or eat, or just we are a flea somewhere in their hair, who knows? These things happen according to the Dharma. So anyway, is it appropriate to be attached, he's saying, to something that's going to not last? Are we attached? I guess we are attached sometimes to our hotel rooms. If it's a nice hotel, yeah. I'm definitely attached to this room here at Root Institute in the Sarah building. I like this room, yeah. I wouldn't want, when they're giving it to me twice running, which is very kind of them. I'm kind of getting attached to this room. Small room, but attached bathroom, hot water, a nice view, morning sun, to the east. It's all very nice. But is it appropriate to be attached to this? Well, it's appropriate to like it, to be grateful for it, but attachment in the sense of exaggerating. I mean, this room is nice now. But there's no AC. In 1 month, it's not going to be that comfortable at all. It's going to be very uncomfortable in this room, I can tell you. And after 2 months, well, you want to be like a tandoori roti, then one can be in this room. 2 or 3 months, it's just going to be insufferable, even if you have the fan on full. So, it's inappropriate to be attached to this impermanent room. It's changing. The temperature is changing. Everything is changing. So, let alone the room. What about a person or a situation or a job? It's inappropriate to be attached. Here, of course, Shantideva is mainly talking about being attached to people. Apparently, that's what the Tibetan says. No impermanent person who has attachment for impermanent people will see his loved ones again for 1,000 lifetimes. And even if one does see them, next verse, I'm just reading the actual Tibetan, which he also gives in this text. If one doesn't see these people, one becomes unhappy, okay? One doesn't see them, one becomes unhappy. And the mind doesn't reach meditative equipoise because you're so tormented by, the visions of this person, right? Even if they are seen, there's no satisfaction. I think he means even if they are seen, there's no final satisfaction you can get from an external object or person. So one is again tormented by craving, just as before. Even upon seeing them, one does not become satisfied, but is tormented by strong desire, just as before. Well, think about that. I mean, one could meditate on each of these verses. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Have you had that experience? You're not with someone or with a situation that you really want, a job, or it could even be something like a food, you know. You're not having it and you're unhappy. Then, strong desire, you actually find that person or that thing, you have that thing, a strong desire for it, you indulge it. Then what? Then what happens? I'm not gonna put words in your mouth. I mean, what happens? Reflect on that process. What does it lead to? Does it lead to final satisfaction, ultimate satisfaction? No more craving? Is that what it leads to? You can hear these sounds in the background. That's the fair. There's a mela going on. Why is there a mela going on with a wheel and all sorts of things? Because there's been a 10-day or whatever, 8-day prayer festival, right? All these little monks, especially the little monks, but also some elder monks, they like enjoying, you know, in the evening after the prayers. So you see them riding around on bicycles, which they don't have in their monasteries, you know, they're riding and falling off bicycles. And they go to the fair, you see. Their disciplinarians can't stop all of them going to the fair. In any case, it's the last day virtually of the Nyingma prayer festival. So they're enjoying, you know. Maybe they do enjoy it a lot. After all those prayers, it is a kind of nice, easy enjoyment. Except maybe for a few of them who get addicted to those pleasures and who miss the fair mentality when they go back to their monasteries. Anyway, there'll be a lot of sounds for quite some time on the fairground. Yeah. So yeah, the craving, then the enjoying of the object, then how long does that last? You know? And again, one wants it. You know? It's like food. You eat, very powerful desire for food. I had this so many times in the last one. Powerful desire for food. Start eating, blissful, and then because you put too much on your plate, by the end it's suffering, and then sometimes you feel, you know, depending who you're with, or you can't leave anything on the plate, and it's suffering to get that last morsel in your mouth. It's really suffering. It's what started off as so nice, so blissful, changes so fast, you know. And we can all find probably parallels with our human relationships with people. But of course, it's not saying that we give up on people. People is what it's all about, right? Sentient beings. One does not perceive reality. Okay, when he's talking about when we're tormented by strong desire and so forth, one does not perceive reality, and we lose a sense of disillusionment with the cycle of existence. You know, we start seeing, as they say, samsara as like a, you know, pleasure garden. One is consumed by that grief, desire for the company of the beloved. If one is attached to sentient beings, reality is obscured. One's disillusionment with the cycle of existence is obliterated, and in the end, one is consumed by grief. Oh boy. Yeah, it's bad news, right? Because of thinking of that person, life ever so swiftly passes in vain. Due to a transient entity, the eternal dharma is lost. So due to addiction, due to obsession, due to attachment to a impermanent living being, we lose sight of the Dharma, of the truth that frees us completely. It's like, so desire here is a bit like a cloud that darkens the wisdom that we do possess. For a temporary situation, temporary pleasure, we are willing to forsake the Dharma. Looks like something like that. Where are we for time? Goodness, 7:43, okay. One who acts in the same manner as foolish people definitely goes to a miserable state of existence. They do not like someone who is different. What is gained from association with fools? What's the point of associating with fools? So if we behave like foolish people, which means if we behave like ordinary people who are consumed by attachment and do not see the danger in the disturbing emotions, if we're that kind of fool or uninstructed worldling, as some of the Pali texts, apparently, the basic teachings, there's a word, I don't know the Pali, but it apparently translates into uninstructed worldlings, is how Bhikkhu Bodhi translates it in his wonderful translations of the sutras. They're available in the wisdom book compilations of the sutras. So uninstructed worldlings, we definitely go to miserable states of existence through behaving in this foolish manner of being attached all the time. And we don't like people who are different. We, we behave the same way as fools. So we all behave the same way as fools. We all are like sheep or lemmings. We all like to dash and jump over the cliff together. We're doing it together, jumping to our deaths. So what is to be gained from this association with fools? And then this is very, very powerful, this next verse. Oh man, I wish I could internalize this verse and just keep it imprinted on my heart without, of course, losing love and compassion for people. But this next verse, number 10, folks, is very powerful. One moment they are friends, and the next moment they are enemies. On an occasion for being pleased, they can become angry. Ordinary people are difficult to gratify. So ordinary people here, he mentions, are those who are not Arya beings. In other words, they haven't realized emptiness. They haven't realized the directly identitylessness. So yeah, this is what happens, isn't it? You can have a really good time with someone, a family member or a friend or your lover or whatever, associate at work, your boss, anyone can be really good and you think, wow, great. And then things happen, as they say. SHIT happens. And when it hits the fan, then we had it, Then you feel, wow, what's happened? How did that happen? Of course, from Buddhist point of view, it happens because we've created mixed karma, right, in the past. We haven't just created good karma. Or in connection with a particular person, we may not have, just created positive karma. There's a lot of mixed karma, good, wholesome, unwholesome. So you enjoy the wholesome bits, but then when the unwholesome karma ripens, we have to experience the unwholesome results. Karma, actions have consequences. And if we haven't purified enough, we experience the suffering results again and again and again. So we've all had, I think, probably painful experiences of people one day they're okay. And I would imagine, and I feel very sorry for many people I can see in some kind of partnerships and all, because I can see how, sometimes it's going very well, sometimes not going well, sometimes very upset, sometimes very happy, because we all have, different things going on, different moods. And so, if you're more upbeat person, or, like to be jovial and jolly, and the person you're with, your partner, is not like that, it can easily lead to problems. And, dismay, criticism, etc., etc. And then the next verse, oh yes, when given good advice, they become angry. And they turn me away from good advice. If they are not listened to, they become angry. And then they go to a miserable state of existence. Yeah. So these people we purport to love, and often we make vows in front of them in churches and so forth. That so-called love for. Oh, okay. What do you think? I hope it's not reminding us too much of. Well, it's supposed to remind us of what's going on. It's not supposed to be a fantasy, not just some fancy dystopia that he's writing about. This is life, right? You ever given good advice to people and they become angry? They don't want your advice. Who asked you? Clear off, And then they can often, in the name of helping, say, oh, no, don't do that. Just take it easy. Oh, have another helping. Oh, watch another session of blacklist or whatever it is. Can either be an external person saying this, or one's internal uncontrolled mind. Yeah, watch another episode. Go on. Be kind to yourself. So in this way, we are turned away from good advice. And when we don't listen to people, very often they get angry. They say, look, what I'm telling you, it's just, you can take it or leave it. I'm just giving you advice. But then when you don't agree, then they get angry. Even though sometimes they say, well, I'm just giving you my opinion. But then you say, well, I don't agree with your opinion, then they get angry. So then problem. What to do? They feel envy towards superior, competitiveness with equals, arrogance towards inferior people. They get conceit due to praise, and anger when they are reproached. When could there be any benefit from a fool? Meaning these ordinary people. Yeah, pretty bad news. Bad scenario, folks. This is what Shantideva was saying in the first 12 verses, saying it's pretty bad news. Attachment and all of this, ordinary thinking, ordinary people, totally drowning in the 8 worldly feelings. This is all to be very careful about. This is all gonna trip you up, Better avoid it. See the faults. Okay, let's have some discussion if people want. Luckily, we haven't had an interruption for a while in the broadcast. Okay, well, we have very highly educated, intelligent people here in our audience. What do we think, folks? Shantideva managed to get through my thick skull. Well, not yet, but I was working on it. Oh, you have a few people at Tushita now. That's good. 3 people? 2 people? Looks like 3, but there could be some hidden people. Okay. Anybody? It's pretty clear, really, isn't it? What can one say? If one looks at our life, unless we're already a saint, or a bodhisattva, then what Shantideva says is going to be hitting home, right? Makes sense. Of course, we may not agree with him. We may say, look, come on, who are you trying to kid? This is the world. This is the real world, the 21st century. India, for heaven's sake, we're not in the jungle anymore. And what can we say? We're being colonized and recolonized and decolonized again and again. So we are totally foolish people. Confused, foolish people. In the north. In the south, maybe a little less confusion. I'm not sure. I think less confusion. In South India, actually. But that's just my opinion. Not based on enough observation, perhaps. What do you think, Anushri? You're living in South India, among South Indians also. Do you think they're more balanced and less crazy than the Northerners? Because your mother lives. Huh?
Yeah, no, not like that. My mother is very balanced. Yeah, I like South. I prefer South to North because people here are more they are more humble and they are simpler. They are less crazy. Yeah.
Interesting. Good. Yeah, that's what I feel somehow. More intact, less disturbed, less disturbed. Yeah.
And very honest also, honest. I went to Kerala, Kabirji. People are very honest over there.
Really?
And very.
Yeah, but a bunch of communists down there. Come on, are you sure they're honest? They're having a whole bunch of problems down there, but I guess, yeah, in some ways, if you found that, that's interesting. Yeah, Naveenji isn't here, although he's at Root Institute. He's from Kerala, and I think he's just recovering from his day at the stupa. He had an amazing day at the stupa with all of the prayer festivals. He could have said
why
something.
this comment, bunch of communists?
No, I'm just being engaging in wrong speech so that you could see that even I have many faults. Yeah. Of course, I used to support communism myself. Still support true communism, actually. True communism, but not not political communism as we see in the world. Yeah, but communism is great. Sharing and communal. But unfortunately, it has other connotations. Anyway, back to Shantideva. I'm sorry for that comment. Yeah, so a comment an ordinary person makes. Anybody? People at Tushita? Looks like Dr. Sonali is almost asleep, and the other person, not sure.
Yeah.
Someone's looking at the. Yeah.
Kabirji.
Yeah, Ajivji, you want to? Haji, boliye.
Yeah, I just want to leave. I think what Shantideva is saying that almost like challenging the mind, that is your mind enchanted or disillusioned with the cyclic existence?
Yeah.
I really find that that's very important, Because as long as the mind is not feeling disillusion, it will never have that inner motive to really come out of that.
Yeah.
So I think I really feel that it's a very essential to have that. It's like if I feel very cold here, if there's a sunshine, I have the motivation to move out from this cold to feel that warmth of the sun. So
Right.
similarly, I think if my mind is totally enchanted with the worldly things and is not disillusioned, that motivation from inside will never come to move towards the liberation or enlightenment.
Yeah.
So I think the question is that, can we really see?
Yeah, that's right. Desire is so strong and so repetitive. It's such a powerful habitual pattern that it's very hard to let go. Oh, where are you, Aditi? You've changed your place. And maybe where you were, Isabel is now there. I'm confused.
I'm in a moving place, like a car. I'm driving.
I see. Okay, then be careful. Yeah. Be careful. Right.
But yeah, we have too many habits, and even if they make us suffer, we are attached to it, and it's very difficult to liberate ourselves because of that, I think. Because sometimes we think that's happiness, that's this place that is giving us happiness, because we are so attached to it, and then we want, and we cannot. And if any attachment can bring us happiness, that mainly that. Till we are attached to any situation, we cannot. Yes, maybe not only pleasant. Sometimes we are attached to unpleasant situations because of some idea or some conception that we have of good, even sometimes of good. And it's really not easy to free us from those conceptions.
Yeah, not easy to free ourselves. That's right. That's right. It's such a powerful pattern, it seems, you know. Yeah, plenty of examples of that. Yeah, how we can't let go of what we know is not good for us, whether it's smoking cigarettes or certain kind of relationship, or something could be very toxic or painful, but we're so attached to it, we can't let go.
Even death, we are so afraid of death to die, and sometimes if you have proper, it can be a liberation. It's not big, but we are not aware of that, even if we can in our mind think of that, but we are attached to life, so much attached, and we don't let go. That's why teachers, they can, if they have another
Lost connection.
I'm sorry that is not behaving very well.
Yes.
Sorry, yeah, I may not have finished yet. So what else, folks? Anything? Our time. Some of you may not have eaten yet. I've had my 6 o'clock meal. Haji, Ajit ji. Yes.
You read the one of the verses which relates to the calm abiding. Calm abiding. Do you hear me? Hello. Do you hear me? Hello.
Ajirji, we can hear you, but I think Kabirji's connection is a bit shady.
Oh, Kabirji's connection is gone. Yeah, I think what I really wanted to say regarding the shamatha, the 2 points. One is that I was reading the commentary, and in one way, it is really managing the energy inside. When we are doing the shamatha practice, the mind gets scattered. That is, the energy has become, and when the mind is sinking, when we
Ajirji, can you unmute yourself?
oh
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So when the mind is getting scattered, the energy is high. Okay. And when the mind is sinking, that energy is low. So we need to bring the balance, mind in the balance of that energy. When the mind is too excited, we have to really bring it down. And when the mind is low, which means it has become dull or there's a sinking, then it has to be uplifted. So at the bottom is the energy management. I hope you are getting that point.
Yes, Ajirji.
That is
I have a question here. I have often observed in the morning meditation when we all join and we do
yeah.
the. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so in the morning, during
I can hear you.
Okay. During meditation, what happens is after, let's say, when the session is long enough, after 20-30 minutes, the mind calms down in a way that it is not that disturbed or distracted. But after some time, the body relaxes completely, and the mind is less distracted, and the meditation is going fine, but the mind is still thinking, it's completely relaxed, the body is relaxed, the mind is less disturbed, but still there are something is going on. Ajiji, can you unmute yourself? You are on mute.
Yeah. So in such a state, the mind is focused, let us say, on the sensation of the breathing, right? And somewhere back in the mind, some thought rises or the thinking is going on, right? So at that time, one of the ways would be to bring them in the panoramic awareness. Okay? But the focus is there on the sensation of the breathing. Are you getting the point?
What kind of
You can make your mind more spacious. It's like you're seeing the sunset, but you are seeing the horizon also, but the focus is on the sunset. The background doesn't disturb you, it remains there. And after some time, it will really go away. It's not distracting you from the object on which your mind is really focused.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
How's it going, folks? Sorry, I lost the connection for a while. I hope things are getting clearer.
And the second point, really talking about the shamatha. In fact, one is the single point concentration, but next to that is what is really called the shamatha. So they're saying that the single point concentration plus the pliability of the mind. So that pliability of the mind has to be part of the shamatha. And what is that pliability? That the mind is free of all the holdings which it was holding. So that the mind can It's like training the horse, the wild horse, for instance. You know, when the horse is totally trained, if you're riding the horse, you can make the horse move in whatever direction you really want to move. So the pliability of the mind is that nothing is being held in that mind, and the mind is really free. So that is the pliability of the mind, which is really, I think, the 9th stage of the shamatha practice.
Okay, sorry, I keep coming and going. Yeah.
So am I.
Did you finish?
Yeah, I have finished.
Yeah. No, carry on. If you haven't finished, carry on. Rajeshji, Isabel, anything else? Because then we can finish soon.
I heard, I think it was Mingyu Rinpoche saying that the brain itself, it's his work is thinking. Trying to stop things is not the main goal. The main goal is like, yes, we are concentrating on the breathing, and the brain or the brain is working, but we are not worried about not following it. So it's like, more or less what you're saying, yes. And yes. And Sansari Rinpoche talks about flexibility of the brain, of the mind. That's the most important. And we can do it with the shamatha, also can achieve it. Maybe changing techniques, not always applying the same technique, and changing the techniques. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. We dedicate now. Anything else? Any? राजेश जी कुछ कहना है?
नहीं गुरुजी क्या बोल लूं कुछ भी नहीं सब कुछ तो वहीं से शुरू होता है origin attachment से और ignorance से
ठीक है. Yeah. Okay, so let's dedicate that we begin to understand more and more and the implications of what Shantideva is saying and see the implications in our life and for our Dharma practice. We never be separated from these kind of teachings and from the teachers like His Holiness and others who can bring out the real meaning of these teachings and show us a great example in their lives. Would be separated from such teachers. So may they all have long and healthy lives, His Holiness, Kyabje Lama, Zopa Rinpoche, all the other great lamas, teachers of all traditions. May we always be connected with such teachers and with the Dharma. Never give up on this path. And quickly develop all of the realization. And due to all the merits we've collected, past, present, and future, may we accumulate all the method and wisdom, the compassion and wisdom necessary to attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. Please dedicate for the people also we've been praying for today, and also for Pushpa Aurora, who was admitted to hospital on oxygen. May she recover. May she is the time for her to die, then may she have peaceful death and good rebirth. So tomorrow I'll try and make sure we have a better connection. I'll sit somewhere else, where I sat yesterday probably, and we'll continue with our reflections and meditations on this chapter 8. So thank you all very much. Thank you at Tushita for setting up the screen, and everybody here. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you, Kabirji.
Yeah, thank you. Good night and sleep well. Yeah.